Mark, today we start with a news report from the great state of Texas. The oldest man in Texas died this week at 106 years old. But he didn't do this before revealing the secret to his long life to a local newspaper. So he told the gun-toting Post that he sprinkled a little bit of gunpowder on his cereal every single morning and again on his steak at night. And that was all there was to it. It was really that simple. Sadly, he left behind 8 children, 21 grandchildren, 32 great-grandchildren, and a 45-foot fucking hole in the crematorium.
Oh, that's brilliant. Can I just ask, is any of that based on facts?
No, not at all.
You are stepping the line of borderline racism with your joke. How can you go with gun-toting Post?
Well, I imagine there is a gun-toting Post in Texas. I'm sure that publication. If you're an editor for the if you're an editor for the gun-toting Post, contact the show.
Do you know what? I don't know what's more worrying, the fact that you said it or the fact that I almost believed you.
Don't cancel us.
Before we forget, you want to die tonight?
The cheaper, nastier, the better for me.
Would you have stayed after this?
Sorry, man, I was completely off guard there.
He's in his coffin. He's the undead.
This was the best bit of the film.
This is not the last time someone's going to steal your man.
Yeah, Mark's not a nice guy.
But you didn't notice this scene. It looks like he's got an extra leg.
Yeah, I've got nothing. I've literally got nothing here. Surely that'd be even worse. The more listeners we have, the worse that's going to be.
Yeah, but I will just get a new phone.
Oh, I tell a lie, actually. Yeah, because we used to have teletext.
Art the Clown makes Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees look like pussies.
I can only assume that this was due to budgetary reasons and they couldn't afford enough extras.
Are you going to have Buster Rhymes in your list of characters?
Mate, I can't believe you don't know Idle Hands.
I'm going to ram my foot down his fucking throat. It was awesome.
It fucking wasn't awesome.
Hello and welcome listeners from around the globe. This is the You Run podcast and we are an interactive horror movie review entertainment show. My name is Scott and by my side... No, don't jump in. I'm still going. My name is Scott, and by my side, as always, is the deep blue sea loving, review giving, Buffy denying man of mystery.
Hi, my name is Marc. I like what you did there. So you got me off guard when you were switching up the formula. That is why.
Yeah, and I don't know if
keeping
anyone's
me on my toes.
I'm in a good mood today.
I can feel it. This is obviously going to cause problems for me tonight.
It might do. We might get cancelled though after my my borderline racist gag at the start of the show.
Extremely racist gag.
Saying that though, it's probably a refreshing change for everybody that I'm in a particularly good mood because last week I wasn't, and I feel good today.
Nah, you're always in a somewhat of a good mood, are you not?
Yeah, I think last week I was more depressed last week than than in a bad mood.
You're depressed, man. What's getting you down? What's causing the problem?
What last week? Cocaine Bear got me down last week.
Yeah, man. But to be fair to it, it's just not really worth the fucking time of day, is it? Let's be honest.
No, and now it's been mentioned on 2 episodes, so we're moving forward. Today we're going to bring you an in-depth movie review, facts about the movie, your opinions in 3-word review, as well as an edition of 1-star reviews for 10 out of 10 movies. We release episodes every Monday and a news show on Friday, and it's free for all of you. All we ask is that you take a minute to support the show, and you can do that by clicking 5 stars on Spotify or Apple. If you want to go one step further, give us a written review on Apple Podcasts, and Marc will read that on the air in his best posh Southern accent that he can do.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at accents as well, so I'd like to try and give that a go. Literally, I am the worst at accents you wouldn't believe.
Give a Southern accent a go.
No, I'm not even going to bother. If you want me to do an accent, then you'll have to leave a review for me to read out, and then that is how you will hear it. But I can guarantee you now it will sound Jamaican no matter what you ask for.
Yeah, man. If you're in a position where you've got a little bit of cash burning a hole in your pocket, visit our shop over at yourunpodcast.com, where we've got lots of different T-shirts and other things. There's T-shirts going on there every week. On there, you can also find the link to all of our social medias and to our other shows. So horror movie news, true crime, and of course, YouTube. As I mentioned in the opening of the show, we're interactive and we give you lots of ways to get involved. And we also try and give back to you. The biggest way we do this is with a feature that Marc created, and he's already dancing. We still don't have music for this feature. Do you want me to bring music back for this feature?
I think we should bring the music back, yeah, because in my head, I still do it.
You do? Every week you dance?
Yeah, because that's my cue to know when it's coming in.
Okay, I'm going to add music back. It's the feature Marc created, Recommended Account of the Week.
Recommended Account of the Week.
This week's recommended account is the Horror Movie Library. Now, I've followed the Horror Movie Library for quite some time. They're a fantastic account. They do reviews and just share general posts. But one of the more interesting things that I find about this account is they'll take... So if you imagine you have a DVD or a VHS, and then you take the slip cover out, and then you fold it out flat.
Yeah. So
you can see both front, back, and the spine.
Yeah.
They then take a photo of that and then just post it. I don't know why, but that is extremely interesting to me. I'm into that kind of thing.
Whatever turns you on.
Yeah, well, exactly. Whatever floats your boat. So they do that for quite a lot of films, especially like classical films that you probably either look and think, oh, I remember reading the back cover for that daily as a kid and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a nostalgia hit for those who are into weird things like I so clearly am. One of the main focuses of this account for me is that I tend to usually go there if I'm sort of struggling for something to watch. The amount of times that I sit in front of Netflix and Amazon Prime and I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling for things to sort of watch, and it churns out the same old shite that you're used to seeing, and you're like, oh God, 5 sharks versus an octopus kind of thing. This is a good account to go to if you just want to scroll through their page, and 9 times out of 10, you'll find a film that you're like, ooh, that looks cool, I ain't seen that, or, oh, I remember that, that's really good, I'm going to go check that out. So for me, that's one of the main reasons why I use this account, is to pick out something to watch instead of scrolling multiple platforms. I'll think, oh, that's cool, I forgot about Leprechaun in the Hood. And then I'll go and I'll go and search for it specifically rather than scrolling until it pops up in my aura. So I think check it out and show them some love, and as always, let them know that we sent you. But if you like me and have a tendency to want to watch something but then spend what feels like 5 minutes, but when you look at your watch you've actually been scrolling for 45 minutes, this is probably a good account to have in your backlog of social medias, just so you can scroll through and think, oh, that's a cool one, I'm going to go and find that and go and watch that.
Yeah,
because that is one of my biggest struggles, I think, with streaming services.
I think it is for everyone. We doom scroll and then it gets to like 10 o'clock and we go, oh, fuck it, I'll watch an episode of The Big Bang Theory and go to bed.
That is exactly what I do every single time. I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch something, or I'm going to review something. What shall I review? And I'll scroll and I'll scroll and I'll scroll, and then half an hour, 40 minutes is gone. I'm like, my wife's going to be over work in 50 minutes. I've wasted 40 minutes trying to find something, so I'll just watch 2 episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and go to bed and wait for it to come home.
2 episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and 5 minutes on X-Hamster and I'm done.
Oh, you dirty, dirty man.
Don't deny it. We all know the truth. Today is a Movies Revisited episode. So this is from season 2. Those of you unaware who've only been with the show listening for a while, Marc wasn't always here. And before Marc was here, it was me on my own, and I reviewed quite a lot of movies. And quite a lot of those movies are fucking good, and they need Marc to review them too. So this time you've given us a second crack at the whip for me, and a first go for Marc. We're going back to one of your favourite episodes before you joined the show.
It was, yes. I loved this episode because you had
Hilton Ariel Ruiz. Yeah,
that's the one. Zombie with a Shotgun director came on and did this episode with you, and it was my personal favourite of the season, I think.
And 2 episodes before you done your first guest appearance.
It was, yes, it was. That's weird.
Yeah, so
that feels like a lifetime ago now. That was only a year ago as well, but that feels like so long ago.
It feels like a very long time ago. Today we venture down to the good old state of Texas, where everything is bigger and better, which includes slasher icons. We are going to have an annoying character and the most criminally underrated screen queens of all time. Not to mention a hook and a chainsaw or two. Today and Mark. God, I can't even talk. Today, and Mark.
Do you need a minute? Do you need a minute to recompose?
I think I just need to drink less beer.
No, it's usually the key to drink more beer.
Oh, is that what it is? Today, me and Mark are excited and delighted. Oh, it rhymes. To return to Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974.
What happened was true. The most bizarre and brutal series of crimes in America.
Stop!
This is the movie that is just as real, just as close, just as terrifying as being there. Even if one of them survives, what will be left? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
So before we go any further, can we address, is it Tobe or is it Toby? Because I'm in the Toby camp, but I know
I'm in
throughout our history of working with you already over the course of a year that you are the Tobe camp.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have this debate throughout the whole episode, so I think we need to just come to some sort of agreement now before we move forward.
Okay, well, the agreement is I'm going to call him Tobe and you're going to call him Toby. And we're both
one of us has to be right and one of us has to be wrong.
Call the show.
Right, Toby Hooper.
Okay, it's Tobe Hooper. Heather likes correcting us. So Heather, confirm it for us. I've decided I don't understand the listeners' scores at all, ever. So last week they scored Cocaine Bear 9 out of 10. Fuck that movie, just before we go on.
That is absolutely insane.
This week they scored the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'll let you finish your sip of beer so you don't spray it everywhere. They scored it at 8 out of 10.
Oh my God. So you're telling me one of the greatest horror movies in existence scored less than Cocaine Bear?
Yes.
I don't want listeners if these are the kind of listeners we have.
To be fair, most of the people scored this as far as the slider would go, and I can imagine they were still sliding their fingers. It was 1 or 2 scores of like 1 that dragged this right down.
Wow. I mean, I get it. And I can imagine the people who are scoring it that low are from a younger generation of audiences who have gone back and watched this and then been like, what the fuck?
Not all of them, and I spoke to many of the people who scored it 1, and I messaged the first person and went, did your finger slip? And they were like, no, it's a 1. I was like, what the fuck, really?
Wow.
So yeah,
I would have instantly hit that block button. Like, you're not worthy.
People like what they like. If this is your first time with us, we give our scores and our roundup at the end. Today, if it is your first time, we're going to pop your You Run podcast cherry. This show is full of spoilers. Full of spoilers. We do the whole movie. And I'm adding this because I got someone who messaged me and said that they didn't realise it was spoiler heavy. And we spoiled a movie for them.
At what point did they get into the episode and they thought, ooh, this is a spoiler heavy show? The fact that we run through things scene by scene, practically, didn't give it away for them that this was a spoiler heavy podcast.
Funny enough, what movie, out of all the movies we've done, it's happened this year, so out of all the movies we've done this year, what movie do you think we spoiled for someone?
The fact that you're bringing this to my attention is going to be something stupidly old, so I'm going to say something weird like Fright Night.
No, it was Friday the 13th, Part 2 from 1981.
What? And they didn't realise that Jason was a killer? Oh, sorry, spoilers.
But no, we spoiled that for someone and they sent me a very angry message. You've spoiled this for me. I cannot watch it now. I listened all the way through, though. Great episode.
Man, some people. I tell you what, let's just do a thing. If it's older than 10 years, we will put a disclaimer at the beginning of the episode to say that this is going to be spoiler heavy. In fact, no, fuck you all. We don't need to do that for you.
Anyway, let's get into the movie. The movie opens with the voice of John Larroquette, and this is now iconic. It's an iconic piece of cinema. And he's giving us a backplot and a vague idea of how it'll end for the characters. So the film you're about to see is an account of the tragedy that befell a group of 5 youths, in particular Sally Hardesty and her invalid brother Franklin. Not sure that's a PC term anymore, but
it's certainly not.
No, I didn't think it was. It is all the more tragic that they were young. But had they lived very, very long lives, they could never have expected, nor would they have wished to see as much of the mad and macabre as they were to see that day. For them, an idyllic summer afternoon became a nightmare. The events of that day were to lead to one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Not quite John Larroquette, but you did a good job, mate.
I think I've done all right. I often complain about written text at the beginning of movies.
You're a Star Wars fan. How can you possibly say that and mean it?
But it stems from this movie. This is where it comes from. It stems from this movie because no movie will ever do it as good as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Never. There's a lot of things that no movie will ever do as good as this. I'm still really annoyed by the listener score about this film, by the way.
Let it go.
I'm trying.
I like the fact that it's narrated and John Larroquette's voice is great and it kind of sets everything up. And they've done this, bear in mind this came out in 1974. This is very much billed as a true story. They don't say that, but the way they frame it to you is like, this is what happened. This is fact.
Yeah. I mean, the way it's filmed as well is pretty much a snuff movie.
Yeah.
This is about as snuff movie as you can get without being Cannibal Holocaust, really.
Yeah, and it begs the question, if you went and sat down in a cinema in 1974 and watched this, after this opening scene, you'd be like, oh, fuck.
Even still to this day, in comparison to quite a lot of horror films, I understand exactly why this film got banned. Yeah. I think it's horrifying. I genuinely think it's horrifying. For reasons I'll explain as we go along. I think this is one of the best horror films ever made.
Yeah, and I agree.
Spoiler alert for my score at the end, by the way.
Yeah, and mine too. I don't think there's any spoilers here. We get the date August 18, 1973 on the screen, and we start getting photo flashes revealing body parts. Prosthetic work is great. It's absolutely faultless.
Yeah.
When we get news reports as well, so you can hear the news playing and they're talking about that there's been a decomposed man dug up and wired to a monument at the local cemetery.
What's interesting about this is I remember the first time I watched this, like even probably the second, third or fourth time I watched this, and these sort of voiceover news reports never held any relevance to me until probably maybe the fifth, sixth, or the fact that I turned probably older than 15 years old and started paying attention to the plot rather than just people getting hacked up with a chainsaw. These are really important, lines of dialogue throughout. Like each thing that is said holds relevance to the story and either comes full circle or kind of basically dips the toe into what to expect with this film.
Yeah, it does. So, like these news reports and John Larroquette's narrated opening, that's enough for you to know the entire course of this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's so well put together. They add that these crimes have happened over an extended period of time. And the sheriff has linked these to forces outside of the state. So the sheriff has gone, it's nothing to do with us. This is city folk. City folk have done this. Now we get the title card. And they also get the cast for the movie, which you don't get that in modern movies anymore. So you literally get the title card hits and then all the credits roll at the start of the movie.
Yeah.
Which I find weird. I don't know why they don't done that.
Do you know what's more strange about it is that although this film has sound, it doesn't have like an official score that you would associate with a film. It doesn't have a musical score throughout. You don't have, you have a sound design, so you'll get eerie, random noises appear, but you don't actually have a score to go with this film.
No.
So when you see these moments of credits, usually you would expect some sort of like John Williams style score to roll with it, so it doesn't feel out of place. But you don't. You just get pure silence.
Yeah.
And you get these credits roll on screen, so you pay attention because you're like, what's going on? Because
Yeah,
your brain automatically, when you hear a score and you start seeing rolling credits, you just kind of switch off waiting for the film to start. But because you don't have the comparison of the two, it is weird. It's weird. And every time I watch it, it still catches me off guard. And I'm like, God, man, if that had a score to it, I wouldn't be watching this.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's still one of the most impactful openings of any of horror. It's got a good setup. It's got a decent amount of gore in the opening 2 minutes. I know exactly where this movie's going, and not a single line of dialogue has been spoken by a single member of cast. I haven't even seen a cast member yet, and I know what I'm getting. There's not another horror movie that does that. Not a single one. It's fabulous. The movie now gets going as a van pulls up and a man puts boards out of the side to help another man out with a wheelchair. He hands the man in a wheelchair a tin can and he proceeds to take a piss in it at the side of the road. A truck goes past and startles this man, who then goes careering down a hill. I'm going to give him a name now. This man is called Franklin, and I know he's called Franklin.
We come up with another name for Franklin, because I fucking hate this dude, and I feel like we could come up with a much more appropriate name for this guy.
Wanklin.
Perfect. That'll do for the rest of the episode. Thank you.
And I know his name's Wanklin because someone shouts out of the truck as he careers down the hill at high pace. And
with the most annoying screech. The most annoyingly audible screech you could ever hear in your life.
Yeah. Whee!
Like a screaming baby. I'm like, I fucking hate you already.
Another man rushes down and helps him off the floor. And then we cut to Wanklin. Are we going to call him Wanklin the whole episode?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. We cut to Wanklin getting some first aid assistance in the back of the van. Our entire cast, near as damn it, is in this van, so I'll introduce them. You've got Jerry, who's driving the van, Pam, who's reading astrology, which is very 1970s thing to do. That was the thing in the 70s.
Was it?
Yeah, massively so. So I know, like, when I was younger, my mum was massive into astrology, and she was like, when I was growing up, this was all the rage, and we were like, really? But hey, it was a 70s thing. We've got Sally, who's Wanklin's sister, and she's giving first aid to his arm. We've got Wanklin, who I've already mentioned, and Kirk, who's about as close as you get to a jock type character in this movie.
Yeah, he's a very, very hunky, hairy chest man.
Yeah, he is very much. Saying that, so's Jerry, where he's strutting around later in his amazing shirt with his medallion and his hairy chest poking out like Tom Selleck.
Jerry's the kind of character you would expect to find in like a PlayStation 2 game where someone was trying to represent the 70s. He has like a Jufro, sorry if that's offensive, a Jufro with flares and a medallion and a super glittery shirt. He might as well have sunglasses like in the shape of stars. That's how 70s he is.
He's very much character from GTA Vice City.
You know me?
Exactly that, yeah.
They arrive at the cemetery. The one that we heard them talking about on the news earlier, and it's overrun with locals. Sally says her grandfather was buried there, and she wants to know if anything's happened to his grave. Was he dug up? And one of the locals points her in the direction of the sheriff. There's a drunk guy here who freaks out Wankling. But this scene is pointless. It's purely here to explain why they're in Texas. And this is if you blink, you will miss this entire scene. It's so fast. It's like they're there, they're back in the truck, and they're off down the road.
Yeah, but this is basically the whole setup for why they are where they are, basically.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, it's wafer fucking thin while they're there.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, this film is fucking wafer thin.
Yeah, it is. As they drive down the road, you get a terrible smell fills the van. And Wanklin says that it's the old slaughterhouse. Their granddad used to work there. And then he goes into great detail explaining how they used to kill a cow with a sledgehammer and now how they do it with a bolt. And the bolt is much better because it's cleaner. And sometimes with the sledgehammer, you'd need to hit the cow 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 times or whatever it took.
It still makes me feel uneasy even when you say it now. It's an uncomfortable thing, man.
It's a really uncomfortable conversation. And funnily enough, one of the girls in there is very, very woke. I'm a vegetarian. Don't do that. If they made a remake again tomorrow, that character would be a vegan. Yeah, 100%. It's at this point they spot a hitchhiker and decide to pick him up. This hitchhiker put the hitchhiking community back 100 years by giving them such a bad reputation.
Yeah, like of all the people to pick up, they couldn't have found anybody worse.
No, I love his character. The actor who plays it it is incredible. Yeah. So he gets in, and this is the only point where Wanklin makes me chuckle. He goes, "I think we just picked up Dracula."
Yeah, because he's got the blood smear all over his face. It's weird.
Yeah, and he's got a big bruise. And honestly, he looks like someone who's escaped some sort of prison or mental institute somewhere. He doesn't look like he should be out and about in the world.
Yeah, I mean, of all the hitchhikers to pick up, he would be probably the last one I'd stop for.
Yeah, I don't think I would. They ask him if he works at the slaughterhouse, and he says no, but his family has always worked with meat. He then takes out some Polaroids and hands them over to Wanklin. And they're all cattle, like pictures of dead cows that he's killed with a hammer. And then he goes on to explain how they make head cheese. They don't waste anything. They boil the cow's head. And that makes head cheese, adding that his brother makes good head cheese. This is so uncomfortable.
And it goes on for so long as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to explain what head cheese is. So I Googled it, and it's a real thing. Also,
is it really?
Yeah, be careful what you Google, because I had to explain to my work HR department my Google searches for the last 12 months this week.
Yeah, fucking hell, for the last 12 months.
Yeah. So we done X in the last 12 months.
That's a difficult week alone.
I'll tell everyone about that all on news. But yeah, I had a very interesting conversation with the lady who runs our HR department, who's 77, and explained to her why I was searching the things I was. For anyone who doesn't know, I do all the research for the show on my work PC.
Yeah, you maybe need to stop doing that.
No, it's fine now. It's been explained, and she's explained to me how I need to do it so she doesn't see it. Because what flagged it to her was one of the sites that popped up when I searched for head cheese.
Oh, right, okay. I can imagine the kind of sites that pop up when you search head cheese on the internet.
It was not what I expected. I was very disturbed. Almost as disturbed as when you sent a dick pic to the group chat today.
Yeah, things got a little bit heated over the last 24 hours in that group chat.
They did. If anyone wants a dick pic, just message Marc and he'll happily send that on to you.
Yes, but just know they're not free. I do charge a service.
If Marc wants to charge you for that, it is worth seeing it. It's worth paying him to get it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I was decidedly appalled and a little bit repulsed, but yeah.
I feel like this is kind of turned into some sort of pimp service at the moment.
It is a little bit. Yeah, send Marc money and he'll send you dick pics. This is where it goes a bit weird. And Wanklin is like playing with his knife and he's picking his nails. And the hitchhiker snatches it away and then just digs it in his hand and just does this big cut across his palm. before like, hysterically laughing and handing the knife back to Franklin like that's normal behaviour.
Yeah, it's strange, very strange.
He's freaked them out. I mean, at this point, everyone's like, what the fuck?
There's no reasoning for him doing this either.
No, none whatsoever. And then he takes out like this massive Polaroid camera and he's like almost threatening everyone with it. And then he takes a picture of Wanklin. Do you know, calling him Wanklin feels really natural.
Yeah, I can't imagine why.
The hitchhiker asks for a lift home at this point, and he's like, it's just right off this road. And they're so disinterested in helping him now. Sally's like, could you not just walk? And he's probably thinking, you just picked me up. What do you mean, can I not just walk?
Yeah.
The Polaroid is developed while they're all debating that they don't want to give him a lift, and he hands it to Franklin and then goes, you need to pay me $2 now.
Yeah, because they're all moaning about the quality of the photo.
Yeah.
And he's like, you pay me $2 now. It's like, well, kind of not, no. One thing that always annoys me about this film is that I would like to know what the quality of the photo was.
Yeah.
Little things, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
every time I watch this scene play out, I'm like, I wish you'd just show me how bad the quality was so I could make a judgment for myself whether it was worth $2 or not.
And that's of all the gripes you can have with the movie, I think
that is probably literally
it. They refuse to pay him, and then he takes a bit of gunpowder out and a bit of tinfoil out of his little pocket, and he sets the photograph on fire. All chaos breaks loose, and he takes out a straight razor out of his boot and like slashes Franklin on the arm. And they kick him out. They basically pull over and they're trying to kick him out, and he jumps out and sort of they close the door, and then he's booting the truck as it's driving away, and it's like, oh, that's...
He kind of marks a van, doesn't he, with his bloody hand that he cut earlier. He sort of like stamps it. Something that is made more of in the remakes.
Yeah.
It's not really touched upon here. I feel like when it was written, I feel like it was like a marked van. And I feel like it would have had more relevance to the story, but I don't feel like they ever come back to it the way it was shot.
No, they mention it later, but not in any depth that would lead you to believe.
No, I mean, they mention it between the people who are actually driving in the van, as if to say, like, he's rubbed his bloody hand on it. But the way he did it and the way the actor portrayed that scene, it was almost like he purposefully marked the van so that if later on he was seen by the family, then they would know that it was a marked van.
Yeah.
But it never really comes to any sort of fruition with the story. But it is something that they do touch upon in the sequel, in the remakes.
In the remakes they do, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Would you pick up a hitchhiker?
If she was blonde and had big boobs, maybe, but I certainly wouldn't be picking this guy up.
No, I don't think I would, and I think it's due to the fact that I've watched so many horror movies. I'd just be like, nah, I'll let you walk.
In all fairness, no, jokes aside, I wouldn't. I think it's weird, especially like these days as well. People are strange.
Yeah.
To quote the Doors, people are strange.
People are strange. Oh, that's another good movie. We need that movie on.
That has been in the poll so many times. How has the Lost Boys not won anything yet? I don't get it.
The Lost Boys have been beaten by some really bad movies as well.
This has just apparently been beaten by the public score of fucking Cocaine Bear. I don't know what's going on with this world anymore. Maybe
we need to do a poll where we just do all the Lost Boy movies, because there is only one pick from that poll.
There is no, because we'll get like Lost Boys 2 or Lost Boys New Blood or something stupid like that. You know it's not going to end well for it if we do that.
They pull up at a gas station to fill up, and this station has been replicated in every backwater horror movie since, and not a single one has ever captured how shitty this place looks.
No.
It's awful. The station attendant comes out and tells him he's got no gas and it won't come till late this afternoon. This is where Franklin says that, where's the old Franklin place? And he says that the old man basically goes, oh, you don't want to go snooping around. Folks around here don't like that. And Frank said, no, it's fine. My dad owns it. I just want to go and have a look at it. It's my granddad's house. And the attendant is really keen for them not to go there. And he's like, look, just stick around here. We do some good barbecue. The gas transport will be here. We'll fill you up and you can get on your way.
Yeah.
They ignore him completely. They all come out of the station. The two girls who've gone in come out of the station. They get in the truck and they drive up to his old grandpa's place. Planning to come back later to fill up. After a short drive they arrive at the house, I would buy this place in a heartbeat. This is like my dream home.
Yeah, secluded, middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fixer-upper.
It's a fixer-upper, but there's no people for miles. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's ideal. They all get out and go into the house and explore, leaving Franklin examining the blood that the hitchhiker has smeared down the side of the van. After a while, Franklin tries to wheel himself into the house. This terrain is not wheelchair-friendly at all.
No, I think everybody was sort of like ready to get a break from Wanklin.
Yeah, Wanklin. And he's screaming for Sally, and she just doesn't come and help him. Yeah. So he wheels himself inside, and they're all upstairs, like laughing and joking. This is where my real dislike for him comes, when he sat downstairs mocking him, going,
oh, yeah, and he keeps going, I hate you so much. I would push him over. I would literally push him over.
You can't do that.
I would do it to him. I would.
Would you make it look like an accident?
No, I'd take full credit for it. I'd want people to know that I'd done it.
Pam and Kirk interrupt his tantrum and say they want to go swimming in the creek that Franklin had mentioned earlier. And he's really reluctant. He's like, oh, well, they're like, come on, tell me, don't be a dick. And he's like, oh, you just go down the back of the house, you'll find it. It leads straight down there. When they get down there, it is bone as a dry. Bone as a dry? Dry as a bone.
I got where you were going with it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
And it's literally it's a desert. It's a desert hole. And they spot a house and they hear a generator. And this is where Kirk has a brilliant idea. We'll go and borrow some fuel from that house and fill up our truck, and then we'll bring it back later. I'll leave my guitar with them as payment.
Yeah. But it's clear nobody wants his guitar. And she clearly says to him, nobody wants your guitar.
Yeah, she does. But she follows him anyway, and they walk up towards the house. They have a really good nosy around before they go and knock on the door.
Yeah, I think you would, though, wouldn't you? I would.
Would you?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Like a really good nosy around. They're looking through windows. They find like where there's all these cars under cover. They go and find the generator, and then they walk around to the front of the house.
Yeah, that's right. You've got to scope a place out, especially something off the beaten track like this. You don't know who lives there.
No, you just wait and go back to the gas station in like an hour's time and fill up and go home.
Yeah, but there might be gas there. There's a generator.
And
this is why you wouldn't survive a horror movie, mate. This is why you wouldn't survive.
When they get there, Kurt knocks the door and he doesn't get any answer. So he knocks the door harder and it opens. And he just goes in. And I always wonder this in horror movies. Why do they just go in? I'd stand at the door going, hello, hello, hello. And if no one came, I'd go. I wouldn't just amble into someone's house, especially not in fucking Texas.
I'm assuming you don't need to ask me what I would do at this point.
No, 100% I know where you go. He walks up the hall towards an open doorway as he's hearing noises from a pig coming from it. When he gets close to it, he trips up like a little ramp and he comes face to face with Leatherface and a hammer to the head. Leatherface drags him in and slams the metal sliding door shut. The first time I watched this, I sat there stunned, like, fuck.
Man, the thing is about this film as well is and this is something that you probably will struggle to find in any other horror movie. Every single kill in this film is iconic.
Yeah.
And has purpose and is done in a way that is just fantastic. Like, this kill in particular as well, the thing that always gets me about it is he hits him the first time and knocks him to the floor. And he kind of, it just feels so authentic as he knocks him unconscious. You think he's dead. He's quiet for like 3 seconds. And then his body goes into some sort of seizure, sort of spasm thing. And Leatherface just whacks him again, knowing he's fully, and then that point he goes limp. And he just drags him through the door like cattle. That iconic moment where he just slams the door shut. And I'm like, wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, and that noise it makes just rattles right through you. It's like, wow. I mean, I went and saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre when they'd done a re-release at a local cinema. On the big screen, that is like goes right through you.
But again, this is something that I'm going to keep referring back to with this film. There is no score. There is no soundtrack. There is nothing. This is just pure silence and the effects of the situation. If you had a Conjuring style score over the top of this,
Doesn't
wouldn't
work.
hold anywhere near the same level of impact as what it does without anything but just the noise effects. And it's something that I feel like Toby Hooper captures perfectly throughout this film. It's like the score is not important. And like people, especially in modern day films, they utilize the score in a way to try and build impact. And it's like, if anything, all the score does nowadays is just make scenes predictable. Because it's building, and you're like, oh, well, this is going to be a scary moment because it's building to it. But whereas this, you don't see it. You don't know it's coming.
No, they
and
come
when
out
it
of
does
nowhere.
happen, you're like, fuck, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Because you don't have that building momentum of the score with this film.
No, when it's something hits here, it just comes out of nowhere, and it's so much more impactful. So much more.
So much more.
Pam is outside, and she calls Kirk a couple of times. She doesn't get an answer. So she walks her fine ass thighs and ass up to the house, and you get a lovely shot from behind. And my God, her thighs and her ass are incredible.
Still on that thigh train?
100% on the thigh train. When she doesn't get any answers, she goes in. She starts to look around before she trips over as well. She trips into a room that Ed Gein would be proud of. They've got animal bone furniture, all sorts of weird things hanging around, human skull ornaments. This room is like a chamber of horrors. There's feathers all over the floor. It's awful.
Man, the set design in this room in particular is incredible. And you know what's really strange about it is this time around watching this, I really want the fucking sofa that's featured in this film. Do you know where it's got like the bone legs and then it's got like the bone armrests, they're like hand armrests.
Yeah.
You're like arms, and then it goes up into like the backboard, which has like a skull centerpiece. I was like, that would look so cool in my house.
Yeah, that would look so cool in my house, and I would be happy to pay for my child's counselling.
Maybe I'll just put it in the office.
Yeah, she makes her way to the door, and she's chased by Leatherface as she comes out. She bursts out the door, and he grabs her and drags her back inside. He drags her past the sliding door and then hooks her on a meat hook while she's still alive. It is absolutely savage.
Very, very savage. And again, I know I keep mentioning it, but there's no score. And the whole thing is so gritty and real.
Yeah, and like why she's hanging there and she's screaming and there's blood dripping. Leatherface like picks up a chainsaw and starts to dismember Kirk that he's got laid out on a bench right in front of her as well.
Yeah, her partner, chances of being engaged and married and having kids in the future, just fully hacks into pieces right in front of her.
Yeah, and literally there's no emotion from Leatherface ever in this. He's just a machine.
I mean, I don't know. That's debatable. I think
later there is.
Yeah, at this moment in particular, this is a very...
He's a machine.
Yeah, he is a factory worker. This is, let's do this, let's go, it's go time, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Back at the van, Franklin, Sally and Jerry are now beginning to wonder where Kirk and Pam have got to. And Jerry goes to look for them while Franklin accuses Sally of not returning his knife. Jerry has the most impressive 70s shirt that has ever been put on screen, ever. I absolutely love it. But his shirt will not save him from what's about to happen. No. As the sun falls, he finds the house. And after a slight delay messing around outside, he just goes in again. Who does this? Who just goes in?
I don't know why you insist on asking me these questions. You know what I'm going to do.
Oh, just mad. He regrets going in. He finds the kitchen where Pam was hung, but she's not on the hook now. And he hears a noise coming from the chest freezer. So he opens it. And Pam kind of leaps out and like leans over the side. And this is where in a modern movie you'd be like, oh shit, Pam, we need to get you out of here. But in this movie, he turns around, comes face to face with Leatherface and is met with a hammer to the forehead instantly. Wipe out. See you later. Yeah. On to the next. This is one of the reasons I love Leatherface, because unlike Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers or even Freddy Krueger, at no point does he toy with any of his victims. No. There's a victim. You die now.
Yeah, he's a slaughterer. He's literally a slaughterer. They are his cattle, and he takes them out in the quickest possible way, barring the girl who got put on the meal. I'll be honest with you, man. I've seen this film hundreds of times, And it's only due to tonight's episode that I'm actually remembering anybody's name apart from Wanklin and Sally.
Leatherface is actually spooked, and he does show a little bit of emotion here. So he's opening curtains and like looking out. He's probably thinking, where the fuck are all these people coming from? And why do they keep walking? Why does Marc keep walking in my house? Night has fallen, and Sally's using the car horn to sort of let the others know where they are and kind of give a bit of guidance in case they're lost. She wants to go and look for them. And Wanklin is like, no, we need to leave them here and go back to the gas station. And she tries taking the torch off of him, and he literally fights his sister not to give her the torch.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, fuck you. I'm going to go and do it on my own. And then he's like, don't leave me here. And he makes her push him through the rough terrain while he holds the torch.
Yeah, I mean, this scene in particular goes on for about 5 minutes, and he's so whiny and argumentative. And she's like, look, you can't come because you're in a wheelchair. I need to go and find everybody. We're just stuck here. And he's like, I need the torch. I need the torch to go and find everybody. He just won't give her. He's been like a toddler. Yeah. And it infuriates me every time. I'm like, I hate you. I hate you so much. And I will slash your tires and leave you here.
And he's like, you need to push me. And you see her literally struggling, because Franklin's not a small guy. No. And she's struggling to push him like up these hills and over these grassy mounds. And he's like there with the torch. He's like, go faster, fuck off.
Yeah. Fuck you, man.
They're
you get what's coming for you, bro.
Oh, you Dundee just. They spot a light and they head towards it. And this is where Franklin's going, come on, faster, we can get there. It turns out that the light is the house. And as they get closer, Leatherface is obviously watching them out the window going, why is there a strange guy in a wheelchair being pushed by a small girl coming towards my house? Yeah. So he comes out and appears literally out of nowhere and demolishes Franklin with a chainsaw.
Yeah, carves him to pieces.
Yeah, and well deserved.
Yeah, I cheer. I cheer at this scene every single time I watch this film. I'm like, fuck him, yeah. Thank God for that.
Sally screams a lot now.
From this point on, yeah.
From this point on to the end of the movie, there is a continuous Sally scream. It almost becomes white noise as you get near the end.
Well, I don't know. There's a particular scene as we come to it that is pretty hard to sit through.
Yeah. She goes off running through the bushes. In real life, when she ran through those bushes, they're really sharp bushes, and she was just in a vest top. She cut herself to ribbons, and a lot of the blood and the cuts you see at the very end of the movie are actual cuts and actually her blood soaked onto the clothes. It wasn't special effects.
It's quite a torturous filming experience, isn't it? Working on this.
Yeah, I think so. And it was like 40-degree heat. It wasn't a nice place to film.
No, you can see that from the cinematography as well. Even just the scenes where they're capturing the landscape shots, and you can see like the sort of like burning ribbon effect.
Yeah,
from the heat. It's like, wow, that looks hot. Like I'm hot and sweaty just watching it.
Yeah, and it's that kind of environment. I think would probably be one of the worst to film in, because you're hot and you're bothered and you're irritable. But that probably helped for their performance.
Yeah. I mean, we speak to Heather quite regularly. Heather lives in Texas, and she always sort of complains about the heat and the humidity. Like we live in an environment where it just rains all the time.
Yeah, and I'm quite happy with that. I quite like the wet and the cold. I'm miserable like that.
I think we've adapted to the climate, haven't we?
Yeah, we have webbed feet now. She keeps running, and she arrives at the gas station from earlier, and she bursts in the door, and she's met by the attendant. And he calms her down and looks outside and says, look, no one's there now. And she's like, we need to call the police. He's like, look, I haven't got a phone here. So what you need to do is I'm going to go and get the truck, and then you can get in, and then we can go to the police station and we can solve this. First watch, they could have wrapped it up here quite nicely. This could have been the end of the movie. I think so. This could have been, she's done her big escape. It could have all been over here. But it's not. Spoiler, the attendant brings round the truck, and then he helps Sally inside by beating the shit out of her with a broom and knocking her out and tying her up. He is vicious with that broom.
Yeah, and also it's a little bit too late to be start dishing out spoiler warnings. But yes, the cook, as he's formerly known,
Yeah,
he turns out to be involved. And I remember the first time watching this when I was younger, and I was just mind blown by how full circle it all comes at the end with this film. Like he
yeah.
was like, because he's introduced earlier on, isn't he? He's a cook. He comes in for a brief scene earlier on. And then we reintroduce him to him later on. You think he's trying to help Sally, and then all of a sudden he gets weird and pokey with a broom, and you're
Oh,
like, "Holy shit!"
Pokey with the broom when he gets her in the van. They drive up to the house, and for the entire time, he's jabbing her with the end of the broken broom and laughing.
Yeah,
It's horrible.
and it's one thing I want to say about that, which it always annoys me every time I watch this film, is how incorrect I find that scene to be. Because literally 10 minutes later, which we'll get to, he's talking about, I don't care much for killing, and he's sick to death of listening to Sally's torture, and he's like, just do away with it. But like, you can see how much enjoyment and pleasure he's getting out of poking her with that stick in the car. And I'm like, if you don't care so much, why are you doing what you're doing? Surely you just want this to be over quickly. You're clearly enjoying the ordeal you're putting her through yourself.
Yeah, but who wouldn't enjoy poking Sally?
I mean,
we'll move on. They arrive at the house, and as they're pulling up to the house, the hitchhiker's there. He gets the cook gets out, and he gives the hitchhiker a bit of a beating because it turns out it's the hitchhiker who's done all the stuff at the graveyard.
Yeah,
and he's like,
you're on the news.
Yeah, why are you doing this? And he's like, get in the truck. And they drive up to the house, and then they both sort of help Sally out. And we get another good 15 minutes of screaming as they take her inside, and they tie her to a chair. This bit is just awful. They tie her to a chair, and then I go get Grandpa. And Leatherface and the hitchhiker go upstairs and bring down Grandpa in a chair.
I always thought he was dead the first time I watched this.
So did I. I thought he was a corpse. They sit Grandpa next to Sally, and then they cut her finger and put it into his mouth where he sucks on it.
Weird.
It's horrible.
Weird.
Sally passes out through fear at this point. When she comes to, they've sat her nicely at the dinner table, and they're serving dinner. They're acting like a relatively normal family until she wakes up and starts screaming. I love the fact that their response to this is to scream back and mock her.
Yeah.
And Leatherface's dinner mask is amazing.
The masks throughout this are phenomenal and haven't been topped at any point, I don't think, throughout the entire franchise of this film series. No, this is iconic. Both early doors, which is always a particular favourite of mine, the first mask that we see, but even the second mask, which is now heavily makeup. Yeah. And sort of wigged at one point, are just so iconic and so fantastically done that it's almost virtually impossible to be able to top what they did in this first film, making sequels in the future.
Yeah, it really is. And this scene is particularly uncomfortable because no one gives a shit for Sally, and she's pleading for her life, and you've got the hitchhiker and Leatherface are like pouring at her face and stroking her, and it's a really hard scene to watch. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say this scene would never, ever, ever be made in a modern movie. And if it was, it'd be edited down to a minute.
Yeah,
you'd never get
for like
4
10,
minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah, you'd never get this in a modern movie. It just wouldn't happen. They'd cut it all.
And it's more the direction that the direction of cinematography combined between the two that really focus the uncomfortable nature of this film. Like, there's quite a lot of panning shots of the table, and then it focuses really closely to Sally's face. But I mean, like, we're talking really intensely in her face and in her eye, and just focusing around her mouth and a scream. And it's like it pans back and forth between the two, and it's the whole thing. It's just that choppy editing and consistent screaming that makes this whole entire scene so uncomfortable for so long as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it more uncomfortable is the fact that as a viewer, because it's so long, you're willing it to end. You're like Sally. You want this to be over.
Yeah.
And
again, I'm going to talk about the score. There is no score. It's just raw. It's just pure raw footage Half the problem with the score most of the time is that it just makes you feel like it's a sense of security because you're hearing this music and you're like, well, it's not real, it's a music, but this is so gritty and so raw that you don't have that movie magic to associate with it to be able to separate the two. It just feels real, and it's tough, man. Every time I watch this, I still find this really difficult to get through.
Yeah, I do, and this is where the cook also finds it difficult to get through, and he's like, "You just need to kill her now. I don't take no pleasure in killing."
Yes, even though he takes pleasure in poking with a broom.
Yeah, yeah. If you're going to poke her with a broom to death, I'm in. Give me a broom. But if you're just going to kill her, I don't take no part in that.
No.
They decide to let Grandpa do it because Grandpa is the best there ever was with a sledgehammer. They go and get him this little hammer, and they drag Sally over, like hold her over like a big bin. So when he hits her on the head, the blood goes in the bin. This guy, I can't get over, I can't explain to you enough how frail he is. So every time he picks up the hammer, he kind of falls out of his hand. And then Leatherface is like trying to hold it in his hand, and he gets like a couple of glancing blows. And while this is all going on, the hitchhiker's struggling more and more to hold Sally still.
Yeah.
And then she's up. And she doesn't fuck around. She goes straight for the window and dives straight through it.
Yeah.
No, not like a modern horror movie. Where's the door? There's a window there. That's my way out.
And she runs at it full pelt.
Yeah, and straight through it. The hitchhiker's first outside, and he's following Sally, but he's also slashing at her with his straight razor. And Leatherface is shortly behind because he had to go get his chainsaw and fuel it up and get it started and oil it. And he's after her as well. They make it to the road despite the fact she's had, 30 slashes to the back now, if not more.
Yeah. And it's savage as well. It's really, really savage, this run through as he's chasing her down the road. It makes me feel really uncomfortable because you can see him like laughing and joking as he's doing it. And you're like, oh, that's not nice.
Yeah, it's gone to a level where it's not he's trying to kill her now. He's cutting her because he finds it funny.
It's really sadistic and nasty.
Yeah. The hitchhiker gets what's coming to him, though, because Sally runs out in the road in front of a massive fuel truck, and the hitchhiker is like a step behind her and gets hit by the truck and then run over by every single tyre on the truck, and you see every single wheel go over him.
Practical effects are incredible on this. Like, I know it's a puppet and like a dummy, but it still looks great.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. The truck driver stops and gets out, and Sally runs towards it. So Sally actually gets in the truck, and then Leatherface gets there and starts like hacking at the door with a chainsaw, and they get out the other side and start running up the road. The trucker does hit Leatherface with a wrench, causing him to cut his own leg.
Yeah.
But not really much comes of that. It doesn't really stop him. It just slows him down. He's just hobbling now as he's going after him. A pickup truck pulls up and Sally jumps in. I'm assuming the other truck driver got away because he was still running up the road. But you don't.
Did he not jump in the front?
No, he was still running up the road.
I thought he jumped in the front of the pickup. I do apologise. I thought he jumped in the front and Sally jumped in the back.
No, he's still going up the road because I rewound it because I was taking notes. I was like, where did he go? And I rewound it. But yeah, he's still just merrily running up the road and Sally's in the back of the truck. Leatherface now gives us the Texas twirl with the chainsaw.
I love this scene. You've got it. It's sort of like dusk. Sun's rising. You have it just looks incredible. It really does look beautiful, this scene. And you have the iconic Leatherface twirl, as you say, and he's spinning around wildly, chainsaw in thin air.
When we release this episode, I'm going to release the 11 steps to the Texas Chainsaw twirl because there is actually a dance routine you can do to it.
Wow, that's incredible.
Sally's in the back of the truck and she's now absolutely covered in blood and she's screaming and kind of laughing with joy that she's away and it's all kind of merged together. And then literally the end.
Yeah.
It just stops and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. There's no resolution to this. The family is still there. That's all going on. Sally's on the truck, but did she get away? Who fucking knows?
Well, Very, very unconventional. Very unconventional.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was down to they had run out of money and they had more planned, or if that was always the intended ending.
I don't know. I think given the fact that this is so gritty and raw, that you just have to assume that it was intentional. It was intentional to leave that sort of air of mystery about it at the end, because they're trying to, even though it's not fully established, it's very clear they're trying to say based on true story without saying based on true story. So they want to leave that sort of open-ended end to it to say like, well, he was never caught and the family were never brought to justice and no one knows what happened in those days. Something that they do touch on in the remake.
Yeah.
They made very clear in the remake that was the intention, because you have that first found footage thing and then you have the second found footage thing at the end that brings the two together. And I feel like that's what they picked up from this, which was the same thing that I picked up. It was like it was trying to be a true story and left open-ended to the audience's imagination to walk away from this thinking, ooh, Leatherface is still out there.
Yeah, and the sequel, if you're wondering if the sequel is as dark and as gritty as this, it's really not. It's about as balls to the walls insane as you can get.
Yeah, I just know when I'm referring to sequels and remakes, I'm talking about the remakes, definitely not the sequels that follow this.
I love Texas 2. It's so...
I hate it.
It's almost like they took everything that was good about Texas Chainsaw Massacre and went, we don't need any of that. What we're going to do is we're going to take all this cocaine on the desk and then we're going to make another one.
They might as well have got Mel Brooks to write Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It's that fucking stupid.
I'm sure Mel Brooks actually did write it. He was involved. We give you our roundup at the end of the show. But before we do, we find out what you all think in 3-word review.
Well, I think it's time for 3-word review. Yeehaw!
So I married a horror fan, Family Dinner Time, and they're a horror podcast. WWMT podcast, Genre Changing Masterpiece, and they're a wrestling podcast. And are also visiting the house where this was filmed later this month, which is so cool.
That is very cool. I've seen a lot of people online, and Instagram in particular, who do tours where you can go and see all the set locations from this. It looks incredible. I'd love to be able to do it.
Yeah, we've got nothing like that in this country. What are we going to go tour? The semi-detached house in Enfield from The Conjuring. Yay!
We could go do the Shaun of the Dead tour. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. We need to do that, and then okay, we'll talk about that later.
We'll do that.
The 80s horror lover, the True Goat. They're an 80s horror account. Spooky movies I recommend. Terrifying Murderous Family, and they're a horror movie review account who talk about spooky movies that they recommend, funnily enough. Creature Bod, so Chunky Larry over at the Ghoul Kids Table podcast. Seriously, fuck Franklin.
Exactly that.
I concur. I concur. Can't Afford Diamonds. Good Home Cooking, and they're a seriously cool jewellery account. Seriously cool. If you're into any kind of obscure jewellery, go and have a look. Chainsaw Chicken Barbecue. First Slasher Icon, and they're a super cool mask and horror account as well. There is so much praise for this movie from everyone in 3-word reviews near enough, and you and me, that I wanted to go and find some people who hated it. So
I hate this segment of the show. I'm furious.
I went and found some wankers from the web. I started with Google, because Google's always a good place to start. By far the worst horror movie I've seen. I never review movies, but my God, this one was just painful to watch. The story is no good, and the characters are so annoying and dumb. I honestly had high hopes for this one, seeing it is considered a classic. Half of this movie is irritating screaming. I'm surprised my ears didn't start bleeding. Save yourself time and do not watch this movie.
Yeah, the fact that he opens it with, I don't usually review movies. There's maybe a reason why you probably shouldn't review.
There were quite a few people in 3-word review who did say the screaming was annoying. And to be fair, there are times when I'm like, shut up, Sally.
Yeah, but it's purposeful, though. It's
there for a reason. But
shut up, Scott. Shut
up. Right, next one. It seems like a movie made for psychopathic killers. A psychopathic killer sadistic training film. Eye roll emoji. At this point, I left Google because I thought maybe people on IMDb, people who actually review movies, would have more sense. They do not. This movie does not have anything good. Bad actors, pathetic script, mediocre direction, horrible soundtrack. There's no soundtrack. Poor dialogues, generic scenario, ugly photography, unbelievable characters, exaggerated reactions, tense, repetitive, agonizing, badly done, and boring.
Oh man, some people, honestly.
I made a real effort. So I went through all of the 1-star reviews because I wanted to find a review from someone who's actually a horror fan. Because a lot of these are reviewed by like Doris, who's 96, who's flicked on this while scrolling through a channel and gone, oh, this is rather disturbing. And I found one. Started it with, I am a big fan of horror movies. And when I rented it, I expected to see a good one based on nearly all the reviews I've heard being 5 out of 5. I don't know what people see in this movie because honestly, it's awful. There is literally no plot. The acting sucked. There was virtually no violence. I don't understand how anyone could possibly like this movie at all. Is it even a horror?
Wow. That upsets me a little bit.
How could you not even classify this as a horror? Is this even a horror? Yes, it's definitely a horror. One of the
birth of horror.
Yeah,
the birth of.
I found loads that said this is the same plot as every other horror movie, and I'm going, but this is the first movie that done it.
Yeah, honestly, how can you not? Do you know what? Let's move on. This is annoying me. I hate this section of the show. It just winds me up.
Let's go into some facts and fuck ups.
Facts and fuck ups.
Gunnar Hansen, who plays Leatherface, turned down the role. He didn't want to do it. He read the script and he went, "Nah, it's too brutal. I'm not interested in that." He was persuaded by Marilyn Burns to do it because they were friends at the time. She basically said, "Look, you need to do this movie. You're perfect for it," which I thought was really cool. When they get to the gas station early in the film, the sky constantly changes from bright sunny sky to overcast with each different camera angle because they filmed that scene over 5 days.
Oh, that's it. I've never noticed that.
No.
I'm going to have to go back and watch it again now you've said it.
Director Tobe Hooper claims to have gotten the idea for the film. Any idea where he got the idea for this film? It's fucking awesome.
Well, I want to say based on the Ed Gein true crime story.
No. He was Christmas shopping and it was really busy. And he's looking at the big crowd of people in front of him and thought, do you know what would be really good to get through this crowd of people? A chainsaw. Because he was stood in like the homewares aisle and there was chainsaws on the wall. He's like, I could just pick that up and just hack through all these people. My shopping would be so much easier. And that's where the inspiration come from.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And Christmas shopping drives me there as well.
Yeah, I think it drives anybody there, to be fair.
Yeah. When the van pulls up at the service station and the cook comes out, the sign reads open on the door. In every shot after that, there is no sign on the door. Again, because they filmed in multiple days. Marilyn Burns' costume was soaked in so much fake blood that it was solid and could be stood up on its end on the last day of shooting.
I'm not surprised with the heat as well, because that stuff would dry out like almost instantaneously.
Yeah, so they could lean it against a wall and it would just stay like a plank of wood come the end of shooting.
Fucking hell.
Guillermo del Toro, horror icon director himself, after watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, become a vegetarian.
I can see it. I can see why.
The company works 7 days a week and 16 hours days while filming this. It was in one of Texas's most notorious heat waves. Average temperature 100 degrees during the day and hovered between 80 and 90 degrees at night.
That is so warm.
That's unbearable. At the end of the film, Leatherface takes a wrench to the face and falls down at a roadside ditch. He gets his clothes really dirty in this, and you see he's got a cut leg and he's absolutely caked in mud and crap. When he does his chainsaw dance, he's completely clean. Not a mark on him. Director Tobe Hooper and narrator John Larroquette are the only people associated with this production who've had a successful and lucrative film career afterwards.
I mean, Sally came back from the latest installment.
It's a different actress.
Right, what's a different actress? God, good job. That wasn't a quiz question.
Yeah. The guy who plays Franklin and Sally, so that's Paul Partain and Marilyn Burns, did not like each other. I genuinely did not get on. 90% of their bickering in the film was ad-libbed and genuine. They hated each other. Yeah, really, really disliked each other. And even when there's interviews I've seen when they're older, and like Marilyn Burns is like, he just wasn't a nice guy. I just didn't like him. He was just one of those guys you meet and you don't get on with.
That's brilliant. Do you know, is Franklin actually disabled? Wanklin?
I don't know, and I probably should have looked that up, but I didn't.
Leave us a voice message. Let us know.
Yeah, which ties in nicely to. It's almost like we script the show. We actually don't. There's lots of ways you can get involved in the show. So you can score the movies on Instagram. You can comment in 3-word reviews, hot takes, and all the other bits we do on TikTok, Twitter, and Insta. You can also leave us a voicemail, and you can do that on our website, yourunpodcast.com. Send us a voice note on Instagram via direct message, or record a TikTok with no music, because we can't use music because we get copyright and we get in trouble, and we can play that on the air as well. Mark, do you want to go first or second with roundups for this?
I'll go first this week. I feel like I'm going to shine some light on how great this film is, so I'll go first and drop some bombs. As I've mentioned already, I think the lack of score provides such a gritty documentary.
No, you've not mentioned that yet.
I have.
Is there no score in this?
No, there's no score in this film.
Shit.
And it's important. It's important that there's no score in this film because it's what makes a film as great as it is. Again, I think this is the only film that I every single kill throughout is important and impactful and iconic. Something that you don't get with a lot of films. Like you find most films like this will have a few cutaway kills, and I know this is a limited cast, but every single one of them is very, very impactful and instantly recognizable when you see it, and features its own sort of like iconic scene, especially the two early on, the first two kills in this, which is it Kurt?
Yeah, Kirk and Pam.
Kurt and Pam. Their kills in particular will go on in the annals of history of how it should and shouldn't be done in horror. Again, the casting across the board is fantastic. Even Franklin, as much as I hate him, I feel like he was written and designed to be the way he is.
Yeah. Like you're supposed to hate Franklin.
Yeah, it's not one of those things where I was like, oh God, he's such an ass. Like, you're intended to hate him. It's reason for you to not like this character. I think the practical effects are fantastic. I think the set design in particular is flawless, absolutely flawless the way that it's created, especially the stuff in are they Sawyers in this? Are they established as Sawyers in this? Or is that
no, they're not established as anything in this, just a horrible family who live in Texas.
Yeah, because I took note of the credit sequence, actually. The cook's not even credited as a cook. But he's the only he and Grandpa are actually the only cast members who returned for part 2. I think Gunnar Hansen gives one of the best, if not the only, Leatherface performance, in my opinion anyway. I think we've seen multiple iterations of this character throughout this franchise, and nobody will ever be able to top what he's done in this first film. The way he perfectly balances the childlike nature of his character and the menacing villain that he has the potential to be is incredible and so subtly done. And I don't think anybody's quite managed to capture that throughout all the sequels and remakes and different timelines that this franchise has undergone. Nobody will ever be Leatherface other than Gunnar Hansen, in my opinion. I think Tobe Hooper's a great director. I think he's done some incredible stuff here. I don't think this is a flawless directed film. I think there's moments in here that could have been done better, but overall, I still think it's a very, very competent horror film and a very competently directed film. But I wouldn't go out on a limb to say that it's John Carpenter's Halloween level. There's certainly a few things that look quite amateurish at moments, but again, massively outweighed by the great stuff that comes along with it. So for me, this without a doubt takes firm place in my top 3 all-time greatest horror movies, and it's no surprise to anyone that this is a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, and everything you said, I completely agree with. For me, it's a cornerstone of horror. It changed the landscape of how all horror movies that came after were made. From a cinematic point, I like the way it's done. I like the fact it's really rough cut. And I know a lot of that wasn't down to choice, more to budget and time and everything else, but it works. It's so gritty. And this movie will never be recreated to the level that they achieved first time round. The cast are excellent. I don't like Franklin, but again, in my notes, he serves the purpose of why he was there.
Yeah.
I don't watch this movie very often because it is a rough watch. It's not an easy. This isn't a sit down on a Sunday afternoon. I know what I'll do. I'll put the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on. This is a movie you've got to be in the mood to watch. This holds up today and exceeds 90% of new releases by a country mile. If you haven't seen it, this is a must for every horror fan. Even if you don't like it, you will appreciate what this done for horror. If you look at any horror movie, if you look at Halloween, Friday the 13th, The Nightmare on Elm Street, even Terrifier, every single one of those movies has roots in Texas Chainsaw Massacre in one way or another. Without a shadow of a doubt, it can't be scored anything less than a 10 out of 10. It's brilliant.
Yeah, flawless in my opinion. I know I've brought attention to Toby Hooper's directing, but again, it feels intentional.
Yeah,
but I couldn't sit here and say this is flawless and his direction is fantastic. No, it's not. It's rough. It's choppy, like you mentioned, but it works for the film that it's trying to proceed. But I don't feel like that was intentional at the time.
No, I don't. But if you took this rough, choppy editing and stuck that in a more glossed over movie, it wouldn't work. It would fall flat. No. It works in this because of
I think it's an accidental, perfect accident.
Yeah, exactly that. If you want to watch this, which you should, it's available on almost every streaming service in the globe, either to rent or to buy or for free. There's also multiple copies on YouTube, so there is no excuse that you can't go and watch this right now. Anagram time. We're still receiving complaints. Your anagrams are easy. So this week, have you stepped it up? Because this is the last week before. So when we get to the Scream episode, our 100th episode, we've got a couple of weeks. Our 100th episode, we're announcing the winners. And at the moment, you are costing us a fucking fortune. Could you please make someone get it wrong?
Well, I'll try my best, but I can't. There's only so many movie titles that I can anagram.
To be fair, so I don't know what they are. So, like, I try and play as well. I am shit at anagrams. I think I've got one out of all of them, and I have to message you, go, what was the answer?
Yeah, and me too. Like, I feel like I might be borderline dyslexic, which is one of the main reasons why I started doing my review page, was to enhance my grammar skills and my writing skills. So, like, to me, some of these are really fucking hard. And then when people are like, oh, God, man, this is so fucking easy. I don't know why I went American with that. Let's just
No. And I think some of our listeners are borderline fucking Rain Man at the speed they answer this.
Yeah.
And there are some listeners, and I know who you are, but I'm not going to call you out. There are some listeners who tune into the episode, go straight to the end, answer the anagram, and then go back to the beginning and listen to the episode. I know who you are.
And there's probably some of you out there as well who have an app which can probably cheat and give you the answer to this question. I just type it in. So last week's was Touching June, which was obviously The Conjuring. I personally thought that was quite a difficult one, but however, some of you maybe didn't. So let's move on to this week's. And is it final this week?
No, we've got one more, I think, maybe two. But yeah, no, it's not final this week.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you this one this week, and then I'm going to fucking drop some serious bombs next week. Like, I'm going to drop some serious bombs next week, and it's going to be super, super, super hard. So this week's is Proceed Lost. Apologies. Proceed lost.
Proceed lost.
Proceedlost.
Okay, cool. Proceed lost. So that's what you need to get this week. And don't forget you're playing for a T-shirt. There's also ways to get extra points now as well, but we'll talk about that in a minute. You can catch us again on Friday for Horror Movie News. It's a separate podcast. The links for it on our website, yourunpodcast.com. On this show next week, we're coming with a new release and the return of Horror Review Girl, because we're going back to Woodsboro. No, we're not. We're not going back to Woodsboro. We're going to fucking New York. It's Scream 6.
Do you think we'll go to Woodsboro at any point?
I hope so.
There must be some sort of callback or flash sequence to...
Yeah, I mean, we need to get, like, Stu going to Woodsboro to find Sydney at the end of the film.
Do you know what, man? I cannot fucking wait for this week to be over just so we can get it out of the way.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to drop us a review on Apple or Spotify. And now you can get your extra points. So this started last week. If you haven't listened to last week, you've already missed out. Marc's going to give a movie quote, and if you can guess that total will be added to your anagram scores. So you could...
Well, no, this started 2 weeks ago because we got a call back to ask for it to come back.
Yeah, but I didn't do it on that episode. It's Cocaine Bear.
Did that not count?
Yeah, no, that didn't count. So anyone who guessed it right on Cocaine Bear got extra points, and anyone who guessed it right today got extra points. And so far, the people who've got the anagram right have also got your movie quote right as well.
Okay, so, last week's was... For those of you who got it right, and for those of you who didn't, was Full Metal Jacket from 1987. And this week is I never had any friends later on like the ones I had when I was 12. Jesus, does anybody? Does anyone? Does anyone, not anybody. My mind just automatically read that and processed it before I actually read it, if that makes sense. Do you ever do that?
Yeah, a lot.
I do it all the time. I just process in my mind what the word should be before I've actually read it.
Yeah, I do it at work a lot with email. So I got an email the other day that was like, you can do this. And I read it as can't. And I started typing like a scathing email back. And then
you had to process and read it again.
Yeah, and then I went, oh, I'm glad I didn't click send.
Well, that's what I've just done. So it actually says anyone, not anybody.
Do you want to read it again?
Yeah. I never had any friends later on like the ones I had when I was 12. Jesus, does anyone? And I almost did it again.
Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you all next week.
Cheers, guys. We'll see you next week.
Before I forget, you want to die tonight?
The cheaper, nastier, the better for me.
Would you have stayed after this?
Sorry, man. I was completely off guard there.
He's in his coffin. He's the undead.
This was the best bit of the film.
This is not the last time someone's going to steal your man.
Yeah, Marc's not a nice guy.
You didn't notice this scene. It looks like he's got an extra leg.
Yeah, I've got nothing. I've literally got nothing here. Surely that'd be even worse. The more listeners we have, the worse that's going to be.
Yeah, but I will just get a new phone.
Oh, I tell a lie, actually. Yeah, because we used to have teletext.
Art the Clown makes Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees look like pussies.
I can only assume that this was due to budgetary reasons and they couldn't afford enough extras.
Are you going to have Busta Rhymes in your list of characters?
Mate, I can't believe you don't know Idle Hands.
I'm going to ram my foot down his fucking throat. It was awesome.
It fucking wasn't awesome.